Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're looking at something that sits squarely at the intersection of extreme industrial efficiency and deep emotional storytelling. We're going to break down how a massive 2.5 million word medical drama called Lifebeat is being engineered on a staggeringly strict deadline. It's a truly fascinating look at modern creative production.
So, we've got to start with the big question, framing the whole first half of this project. How on earth do you generate 2.5 million words of fiction in just 114 days? To put that crazy number into perspective, that's like writing roughly 25 average-sized novels in less than 4 months. No pressure, right?
Well, the entire project balances on one staggering number, 21,930. That's the daily word count requirement. It's the mathematically rigid foundation for what is actually a deeply emotional story. Every single day, without fail, the production team has to hit this exact target to stay on track.
To really wrap our heads around this massive undertaking, we're going to hit 5 key areas. First, the 2.5 million word mission. Second, the daily production pipeline. Third, we'll step inside Lifebeat Hospital. Fourth, we'll look at the dual lead characters. And finally, the themes of healing and family.
Section 1. The 2.5 million word mission by the numbers.
When you look at the sheer industrial scale of the output required, you quickly realize this isn't just writing, it's a full-blown operation. I mean, we're talking about producing over 153,000 words a week, scaling up to nearly 658,000 words a month. And all of this is driving toward a very specific, totally immovable release date, Vijayadashami, on October 20, 2026.
And the timeline for this is brilliantly intense. There's an incredibly tight 123-day window from the initial concept all the way to that Vijayadashami release day. Look at Phase 1, that's just 2 days for research and prep. Then it's 114 days of relentless production. But the most terrifying part has to be Phase 3. They only have a tiny 7-day buffer for emergencies, like technical issues, editing delays, or continuity repairs, right before launch.
Section 2. Production pipeline, the daily 24-hour cycle. So how does a team actually pull off nearly 22,000 words, day after day, without the entire story just collapsing under its own weight?
This rolling 24-hour cycle is the secret engine. It's an intense, human-AI hybrid workflow. Step 1 pairs the author with AI to draft the daily scenes, strictly following a master story Bible. Then, human proofreaders and structural editors immediately jump in to clean and refine the text. Crucially, Step 4 brings in an AI verification agent to double-check timeline continuity and character consistency. The golden rule here, content drafted on day X absolutely must become a pristine, editor-approved, archived manuscript by day X+1.
Section 3. Lifebeat Hospital, the central setting. Now that we've seen that aggressive, machine-like factory workflow, let's step inside the deeply human world they're actually building.
The whole narrative orbits around this newly established, high-pressure trauma center in Kolkata. It was a hugely expensive investment that faced a lot of administrative resistance, so it simply cannot fail. This understaffed, high-stakes environment acts as the absolute perfect crucible for our characters' professional clashes and personal struggles.
And the creator's intent is super clear when you look at the story mix. The Story Bible strictly mandates these ratios. It's not just a sterile medical procedural, and it's not overwhelmed by boardroom drama either. With 40% dedicated to character life and 30% to medical cases, it's a truly character-driven saga where hospital politics take a backseat to real human lives.
Plus, the Master Story Bible mandates that absolutely no supporting character is left behind. Everyone gets a meaningful, independent journey with a satisfying conclusion. You've got the wise chairman looking for a successor, the divorced, super dedicated trauma director, the fiercely blunt female best friend who's just trying to support her parents, and the cheerful gossip nurse who literally notices every single dynamic shift in the hospital. It creates this rich, lived-in ecosystem.
Section 4. Dual lead characters, 2 wounded surgeons. Okay, let's dive into the 2 brilliant, incredibly stubborn cardiovascular surgeons at the very heart of this massive story.
We've got a really fascinating contrast here. On one side, there's a cold, authoritative male lead. He's desperately seeking a stable family life, but his arrogance just pushes people away. On the other side, we have a highly skilled, emotionally traumatized female lead. She spent 4 years in a war zone, and she has completely buried her dreams to preserve the past, avoiding the future entirely.
Focusing in on their psychological anchors, the female lead literally wears her trauma.
She keeps her late fiancé's engagement ring on a chain around her neck. He died in a massive explosion right after proposing to her, and she only moved to Calcutta because it was his childhood home. That ring is a heavy, physical manifestation of her inability to move forward.
Similarly, the male lead's unresolved guilt is anchored by a small buffalo toy hanging in his car. It belonged to his late sister, who died in a car accident, a tragedy he feels entirely responsible for. He actually speaks to this toy when he's alone and overwhelmed. It goes to show that underneath his abrasive, arrogant exterior is a man suffering from deep, deep emotional isolation.
But injecting some much-needed charm into all this heavy trauma is the male lead's fiercely intelligent 8-year-old nephew, who he's raising as a single father. The kid knows his dad is lonely, So he mischievously tries to play matchmaker, famously telling his uncle, "Your choices aren't working, try my choices." He essentially becomes a vital bridge between the two leads.
So, how does this relationship actually build? Well, it starts with a multi-vehicle collision on the street, which kicks off a bitter workplace rivalry over treatment perspectives. But the real turning point happens during an impossible surgery. The female lead is fighting to save a patient, and the male lead quietly procures a rare, unpublished German medical thesis to help her. That shared victory breaks down the wall of arrogance. It moves them from rivals to mutual respect, and eventually into a realistic, slow-burn love.
Section 5. Healing and Family, the Philosophical Core. Let's move to our final section and explore the overarching themes driving this monumental 114-day production.
The Story Bible strictly mandates these core philosophies. It insists that healing isn't instantaneous. It takes real time. It shows that family is built through choice and love, not just blood. This proves that a highly structured, machine-like production pipeline, churning out 22,000 words a day, doesn't have to sacrifice emotional depth, human vulnerability, or thematic resonance.
To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a thought directly inspired by LifeBeat's core philosophy. The story reminds us that doctors, nurses, and patients all carry invisible burdens. So, if everyone you meet is fighting a private battle, what hidden struggles are the people around you carrying today? And more importantly, how can we better help each other heal? Think about that as you go through your day. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive into the making of LifeBeat.